What happens when a good man finally chooses to walk away? Not out of anger, not out of bitterness, not to prove a point, but because something inside him finally becomes crystal clear. When a good man walks away, it doesn't look the way people expect. There's no explosion, no dramatic exit, no revenge tour. There's just stillness. A profound, unshakable stillness. A good man doesn't leave when he's emotional. He leaves when he's resolved. And that resolution doesn't come overnight. It comes after trying longer than he should have. When he realizes he's been giving from a well that was never meant to run dry. When he understands that love without honor slowly turns into self-betrayal. When his spirit, after whispering for months, maybe years, finally says, enough. That moment isn't loud, but it's permanent. And once a man crosses that threshold of clarity, there's no returning to who he was before. Because walking away wasn't rejection. It was alignment. Here's what most people miss. A good man doesn't leave to punish anyone. He leaves because he finally sees. He sees the pattern, the cycle that keeps repeating. He sees the imbalance, the emotional ledger that never evens out. He sees how often he's been contorting himself just to keep the peace. And at some point, a man realizes peace that costs his identity isn't peace at all. And once a man sees clearly, he stops negotiating with a reality that refuses to change. Good men don't move in circles. They don't disappear for attention. They don't pull away to manipulate or control. They simply withdraw access. Their time tightens. Their availability shrinks. Their energy comes home. Not out of pride, not out of pettiness, out of self-respect. This is where confusion usually sets in. Kindness gets mistaken for weakness. Patience gets mistaken for unlimited tolerance. Consistency gets mistaken for guaranteed permanence. But a good man is not infinite. He gives deeply. He invests sincerely. He stays longer than most men ever would. But when his soul reaches its limit, when his compass finally points him toward self-preservation, he doesn't argue about it. He adjusts his life instead. That's not cold. That's a man finally listening to himself. When a good man steps back, the loss doesn't feel dramatic. It feels quiet. It feels like the absence of calm, the absence of stability, the absence of someone who showed up consistently without being reminded. Because a good man doesn't just give affection. He gives safety. He gives presence. He gives emotional consistency in a world that rarely offers it. And when that disappears, everything else starts to feel hollow. Attention still exists. Options still exist. Distractions still exist. But none of them can replace peace. And once a man loses peace, he doesn't forget how that felt. That's when the weight of what was lost becomes undeniable. And that's the moment everything shifts. Not because someone was abandoned, but because a man finally chose himself. Not selfishly, not angrily, not vindictively, responsibly. Walking away wasn't failure, it was responsibility. Responsibility to become the man he was always meant to be. And this moment, this quiet decision, is where the comeback truly begins. When a good man walks away, most people think the story ends there. It doesn't. That's actually where it begins. Because a good man doesn't walk away to stay broken. He walks away to rebuild. Quietly, deliberately, with intention. Not because it's trendy, not because it looks good online, but because no one else is coming to save him. When a good man steps away, his focus shifts. Not outward, inward. He stops monitoring reactions, stops replaying conversations, stops explaining himself to people who never really listen. Instead, he tightens his boundaries. He builds walls where there were once open doors. Not to shut the world out, but to protect what's left of himself. This is where discipline starts to replace emotion. He commits to routines that steady his mind. He strengthens his body. He cleans up his environment. He removes distractions that keep pulling him backward. Not all at once, not perfectly, but consistently. And that consistency begins to change him. His energy settles. He's no longer restless, chasing validation. No longer reactive, triggered by every disappointment. No longer desperate to be understood. He understands himself now. And when a man understands himself, his standards naturally rise. Not out of ego, not out of arrogance, but because he finally knows what it costs him when they don't. This is where the shift becomes visible. His posture changes, shoulders back, head up. His voice steadies, no longer rushed, no longer apologetic. His presence becomes quieter, but heavier. Not aggressive, not hardened, grounded. A man who's no longer trying to prove anything is a dangerous man, in the best way. Dangerous because he's calm. Dangerous because he's no longer reactive. Here's the truth most people miss. A healed good man doesn't look back often. Not because he hates the past, not because he's bitter, but because he learned from it. He doesn't repeat the same dynamics. He doesn't tolerate disrespect disguised as love. He doesn't ignore red flags hoping they'll change color. He moves forward wiser. Scarred, maybe, but not broken. Refined. And that's when alignment takes over. He starts living aligned with his values, aligned with his purpose, aligned with the direction he knows he's meant to walk. He stops chasing connection and starts attracting it. Because a man at peace doesn't beg for attention. He commands it naturally. Not through performance, not through manipulation, through presence. What changed wasn't his heart. It was his boundaries. He didn't lose his ability to love. He learned where to place it. And once a man learns that lesson, once he understands his own worth, he doesn't unlearn it. He carries it forward into every relationship, every decision, every season of his life. So if you've walked away, understand this clearly. You didn't give up. You leveled up. You didn't lose anything real. You shed what couldn't walk with you into the next season of your life. The wrong people fell away. The right lessons remained. And now? Now you're being rebuilt. Stronger, wiser, more intentional than ever before. If this message resonated with you, you're not here by accident. This channel is for men rebuilding their identity, their discipline, and their direction. So if you're walking through your own comeback, subscribe and stay connected. And drop this in the comments if it applies to you. Peace is non-negotiable. Stay grounded. Stay disciplined. Protect your peace. Because when a good man rebuilds the right way, his comeback speaks louder than any explanation ever could. That's Kingdom Comebacks.